Dr. Marcus Hale's heart thumped in his chest as the lab's emergency siren screamed. The alien artifact hovered silently above the center table, glowing with colors no human eye could name. Every scientist in the room had frozen, or collapsed. Some muttered nonsense words. A few screamed. Marcus ignored them. He stepped closer, boots clicking on the metal floor, and felt the heat from the artifact brush against his skin like a living thing. The inscriptions across its surface weren't letters. Not symbols, not numbers, not even shapes that made sense. They twisted and shimmered as if the surface itself were breathing. A low hum pulsed through the lab, rattling teeth and making lights flicker. Marcus's stomach sank. He had read strange things before, but this was alive. "Marcus, stay back," shouted Dr. Ilara Finn, her voice tight with panic. She clutched her data pad like it could shield her. But Marcus didn't move back. His instincts screamed that running wasn't an option. Understanding this artifact could save lives, or doom them. He took a deep breath and touched the cold, smooth surface. The moment his fingers grazed the glyphs, the artifact jolted, sending a wave of energy through the room. Lights went out for a second, and when they came back, the inscriptions were different. Some lifted from the surface like liquid silver, twisting around his hands. The other scientists screamed again, stumbling backward. Marcus didn't flinch. He focused on the shapes, feeling them more than seeing them. His mind raced, searching for patterns. Then, strangely, his stomach gave a twist, like tasting a strange new food, and a thought flashed. What if these symbols weren't meant to be read but followed? Like instructions. Like a recipe. "Recipe?" he muttered aloud, and his own voice startled him. The artifact pulsed in response. A faint glow traced along a line of symbols, almost guiding his eyes along a path. He leaned closer. Slowly, he moved his fingers along the shapes, mimicking what he imagined the symbols wanted. A small flicker of light jumped off the surface. A cube of glowing matter hovered above it, spinning lazily. The room gasped. A spark of hope cut through the fear. Marcus's pulse quickened. He had done it. He had made the first tiny connection with the impossible language. But the relief was short-lived. A sharp pulse surged from the artifact, knocking several scientists to the floor. Dr. Finn yelled, "It's alive. Get back." Marcus didn't back up. Instead, he concentrated, keeping his fear at bay. His mind raced. If this recipe idea worked once, maybe it could work again. The alien glyphs shifted again, rearranging themselves. One symbol hovered like a creature, twisting and writhing. Marcus realized it wasn't trying to hurt him, it was testing him. He could feel its intent, cold but curious. Sweat stung his eyes. His hands shook, but he didn't let go. He traced the next symbol carefully, imagining an action that could satisfy it. To his shock, the glowing cube responded, expanding into a miniature holographic model of a strange alien tool. Tiny lights flickered inside it like a heartbeat. Marcus inhaled sharply. A small payoff, but a huge signal. He could communicate with it. Suddenly, the artifact pulsed violently again. The glyphs spiraled upward like ribbons in wind, and the floor trembled. Objects slid across the lab. Marcus's stomach lurched. He ducked instinctively, holding the cube. The alien symbols shimmered brighter than before, and for a fraction of a second, one of them formed a shape that resembled an eye. A living eye. Watching him. Marcus froze. The room felt colder now. The air vibrated with a sound deeper than any tone humans had made. He realized the artifact was aware of him, aware of his courage, his fear, his choice to stay when everyone else fled. Every instinct screamed that touching it was dangerous, yet stepping back might be worse. He met the eye with steady resolve. "I'm here to understand," he whispered, more to himself than the others. The artifact pulsed. The symbols moved in response. A faint warmth traveled up his arm. Then a sudden shock jolted him, not pain but clarity. He could read a sequence of shapes as easily as reading a simple instruction. A menu, a cooking guide. Marcus's lips curled into a tense smile. He had no idea why his mind worked this way, but it did. The impossible language was yielding to human intuition. The other scientists stared, terrified, but Marcus felt the first spark of triumph. Humanity could solve the unsolvable. A loud metallic screech echoed from the artifact, louder than the sirens. The glowing glyphs shifted rapidly, faster than his eyes could follow. The cube in his hands spun violently, casting strange shadows across the lab walls. The artifact had another reaction coming, something unpredictable. Marcus swallowed hard, clutching the cube, feeling the hum under his skin. His heart hammered. Whatever came next, it would test him. And then, without warning, a shape broke free from the artifact. a long, twisting silver strand, moving like a living tentacle toward him. Marcus's eyes widened. He instinctively stepped forward, ready to face it. The artifact had made its first move, and Marcus was the only one who could respond. Marcus froze, staring at the silver strand curling toward him like smoke made solid. It hovered in the air, twisting and shimmering with a rhythm he could almost hear in his chest. Every instinct screamed danger, but running wasn't an option. He had already seen what panicked humans did. They triggered the artifact, made it react violently. He had to stay calm. "Marcus, move?" Dr. Finn shouted again, but this time her voice was tinged with terror, not authority. Several other scientists were groaning, shaking on the floor, clutching their heads. The artifact's low hum grew louder, vibrating through metal, flesh, and bone alike. Marcus could feel it in his teeth. He remembered the first spark, the recipe idea. Maybe, just maybe, he could calm the moving strand the same way. Slowly, carefully, he extended his fingers toward it. The strand paused midair, then twitched like it was testing him. Marcus imagined it as an ingredient. Step 1, acknowledge it. Step 2, follow it. Step 3, respect it. As he traced a slow, deliberate pattern in the air, the silver tendril recoiled slightly, then uncoiled in response. A small pulse of light danced along its length, and Marcus realized it wasn't attacking, it was observing. His chest tightened, both from relief and fear. This wasn't just a tool. It wasn't just a language. It was alive, and it was aware of his choices. Then the artifact pulsed violently, sending the remaining holographic projections spinning across the lab. Dr. Finn shrieked as a sharp shard of light cut a hole in the ceiling above her. A blinding white line raced across the floor. Marcus dove, narrowly avoiding it. The strand whipped around him like a silver whip. "Focus, Marcus," he muttered under his breath. "Think like a menu. Step by step." He mimicked the motion he had used to generate the first cube. Slowly, carefully, the artifact responded. A second holographic cube rose above the first. This one was larger, its surface etched with tiny moving symbols. Marcus squinted, realizing it was a functional device of some kind, though he had no idea what it did. A small, tangible victory, but he had no time to celebrate. A sharp wave of dizziness hit him. His vision blurred. The other scientists groaned, convulsing as the artifact pulsed again. Marcus realized something terrifying. The language wasn't just difficult. It attacked minds that approached it with fear or doubt. Every failed attempt triggered hallucinations, pain, and disorientation. That explained the chaos. That explained why nobody else had succeeded. Marcus gritted his teeth and forced himself to breathe. The tendril hovered closer, brushing his shoulder lightly. Instead of fear, he tried something new, curiosity. He imagined the strand as a recipe step, not a weapon. Slowly, he traced a circle in the air, and the cube shifted in response, spinning calmly now, its internal lights flickering like a heartbeat. "Look at this," Marcus said, pointing. The holographic cube rotated, revealing what looked like an alien mechanism. A tiny engine no bigger than a fist, with intricate moving parts. Dr. Finn, still on the floor, blinked in disbelief. "Marcus, you did it? You're reading it?" "Yes," he whispered, eyes glued to the artifact. "It's not words. It's instructions. Actions. It wants cooperation, not fear." The artifact pulsed again, brighter this time, and the lab trembled. This was no longer subtle. Marcus realized the glyph's reactions were directly proportional to human emotion. Panic made them unstable. Calm, focused thought made them respond. Every micro-decision mattered. He reached out, touching another set of glyphs. They rippled under his fingertips. A small pulse shot through his arm, not painful but electrifying. The cube hovered closer, spinning faster. The symbols on it were shifting again, rearranging like gears in a clock. Marcus understood this was the artifact teaching him something. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the other side of the lab. A heavy steel support collapsed, narrowly missing one of the scientists. Marcus turned to see sparks flying from a control console. The artifact pulsed sharply, almost in anger. He understood instantly. Any disruption, any human mistake, escalated the artifact's response. Marcus clenched his fists, swallowing fear. "I can do this. I have to do this," he muttered. He started moving deliberately along the sequence of glyphs, mimicking the steps he felt in his mind. Slowly, the holographic cubes multiplied, each one more complex than the last. He could feel the artifact testing him, pushing him to see if he could maintain composure under impossible odds. Then something new happened. One cube shattered, tiny shards of light scattering across the floor. Marcus froze. He expected pain, chaos, but instead the fragments hovered, then reassembled into something entirely different. A tiny mechanical tool, complete with articulated arms and spinning gears. Marcus's eyes widened. This wasn't just a test. He was being rewarded for understanding. He turned to Dr. Finn. Do you see it? It's responding to me. Not like language. Like, it's alive. Before she could answer, a pulse stronger than any before threw Marcus backward. He hit the floor hard, air knocked out of him. The tendril shot across the room, slamming against a wall, leaving scorch marks. The artifact's light flickered wildly. Marcus could see other scientists writhing in unconscious panic. Marcus forced himself up, panting. Every instinct screamed to retreat. Every fiber of his body ached. And yet, he smiled through the sweat and fear. He understood it. He could survive this. But the artifact had one more surprise. From the center of the hovering glyphs, a dark, thin shape stretched upward, like a shadow in solid form, twisting toward him. It wasn't the tendril. It was something else entirely, moving with intent, and far faster than anything he had predicted. Marcus froze, realizing in a flash, the artifact wasn't just a puzzle. It was alive, aware, and capable of action beyond anything humanity had faced. And it was coming for him. Marcus stared at the shadow stretching toward him, his chest tightening. It wasn't a tendril this time. It moved like liquid metal, writhing with intelligence, forming shapes that mimicked his own movements. Every instinct screamed danger, but he forced himself to breathe slowly. Panic would get him killed. He realized something that made his stomach twist. The artifact wasn't just responding to him. It was learning from him. Every hesitation, every choice, every flicker of emotion shaped how the glyphs moved, how the shadow reacted. Most humans would have collapsed under this pressure, but Marcus had to try. He couldn't fail. The shadow twisted faster, almost playful in its speed. Marcus remembered the first recipe spark, thinking of the glyphs as instructions instead of words. He spread his hands, mirroring the movement of the shadow. The liquid metal form hesitated, then split into two identical shapes. Marcus's pulse raced. The artifact was testing him further, increasing difficulty as he advanced. A voice in his mind, not really a voice, more a sensation, whispered questions he didn't understand. Curiosity, fear, logic. The artifact was probing him. Marcus's heart pounded. He had to answer. He reached out to the nearest glyphs, tracing them slowly, deliberately. Each symbol rippled under his touch. Tiny pulses of light formed holographic diagrams of machines he had never seen. Tools, engines, mechanisms, all floating in midair. Look at this, he muttered, breathless. He pointed at one cube. It rotated, revealing interlocking gears and energy conduits. It's teaching me, showing me how it works. The shadow lunged. Marcus jumped backward, rolling to the floor, but he didn't flee. Instead, he followed the sequence in his head, mimicking the actions the glyphs seemed to expect. The shadow paused midair, then slowly retreated, forming a protective loop around him. Relief surged through him, but he didn't relax. He knew better. The artifact was alive and its tests were far from over. Suddenly, the holographic projections shifted again, forming a star map. Marcus's eyes widened. Alien systems, planets, and coordinates floated above the lab, shimmering like constellations. A realization hit him. The artifact wasn't just a puzzle. It was a message. A record of a civilization that had vanished long ago, leaving this behind as a legacy. Dr. Finn crawled toward him, eyes wide with awe. Marcus, this is incredible. You're reading it? Yes, he whispered, his voice trembling with both fear and triumph. It's not a language. It's alive. It responds to us. Our thoughts, our feelings, everything we do matters. The artifact pulsed violently, and Marcus felt a new wave of dizziness. His vision blurred, the room spinning. The other scientists had collapsed, groaning in pain or convulsing from failed attempts to interact. Marcus realized the truth. The glyphs tested human minds and most humans failed. Only those who could approach with calm, intelligence, and empathy could succeed. He clenched his fists and forced himself to focus. I can do this, he muttered. I have to. The artifact responded instantly, pulsing brighter, rearranging its symbols and patterns he had never seen. One glyph hovered closer, almost like an eye, and Marcus stared directly into it. In a flash, he understood something profound. The artifact didn't just react, it communicated. A sudden, sharp pulse threw him backward. He hit the floor hard, the holographic cubes scattering around him. The shadow split into multiple shapes, circling him, testing him faster than he could track. Panic fluttered in his chest, but he forced it down. Instead of fleeing, he mimicked the patterns he felt in his mind, moving his hands and fingers like he was performing a precise ritual. The shapes froze midair, then began to shimmer gently, almost approvingly. A faint smile crossed his lips. He had done it. He had learned the secret. Human intuition could guide the artifact in ways brute logic could not. Small payoff. But the stakes were higher than ever. Every step now mattered more because the artifact was actively adapting to him. Then, something entirely unexpected happened. From the center of the artifact, a shape began forming. Not a shadow, not a tendril, but a humanoid figure made entirely of flowing glyphs and light. It stood upright, perfectly balanced, and looked at Marcus. He could feel its intent, not through words but as a pressure in his mind. It was aware. And it recognized him. The lab fell silent. The other scientists were unconscious or cowering. Marcus's pulse hammered in his ears. Every instinct told him this was danger. But his mind clicked with a sudden clarity. The artifact wasn't attacking. It was testing whether he could understand without fear, act without ego, and show empathy under impossible conditions. Marcus stepped forward, hands raised, approaching the figure carefully. The humanoid shimmered, pulse light moving across its body like a heartbeat. As he drew near, the glyphs on its form shifted into patterns he could read, tiny sequences of instructions he instinctively understood. He could follow them like following a recipe. A jolt of exhilaration surged through him. The impossible language, the living artifact, was no longer a threat. It was a partner. And only a human with courage, empathy, and intelligence could unlock it. Suddenly the figure raised a hand. The holographic star map above the lab shifted violently, revealing new coordinates. Marcus's eyes widened. These were locations far beyond Earth, systems he could barely comprehend. And in the center, a new glyph pulsed, a spiral staircase of light stretching upward into the void of space. Marcus realized in a flash, this was only the beginning. The artifact had more to teach. Far more. And now it was waiting for him to take the next step. Marcus's heart pounded like a drum in a battlefield. The humanoid figure of light hovered silently before him, its glyphs twisting in patterns that seemed almost like a heartbeat. The star map above the lab flickered violently, showing alien systems and coordinates beyond human comprehension. His chest tightened, not from fear but from the weight of understanding. Every second here mattered. Every choice had consequences. Marcus. Dr. Finn's voice cracked as she crawled toward him. The other scientists were unconscious, their bodies trembling from failed attempts to interact with the artifact. They're going to take it. Her words barely registered as alarms blared through the lab. A security team had breached the facility, weapons drawn, intent clear. Seize the artifact by force. Marcus swallowed hard. His instincts screamed danger, but he didn't step back. Running would trigger chaos. The artifact was alive. It could sense fear, aggression, hesitation. It could punish mistakes with far more precision than any human weapon. He clenched his fists. Humanity couldn't cower here. It had to act. The humanoid figure pulsed, its glyphs forming sequences he now understood like a recipe. Marcus's mind raced. Every step, every movement mattered. He reached out, tracing the patterns in the air, and for the first time, the artifact responded to him with intentional cooperation. The shadow shapes twisted and curled, forming barriers around the cubes and the alien figure. They weren't attacking, they were defending. A surge of hope lifted him. He could guide the artifact. He could protect it. But the human threat approached fast. Armed soldiers were stepping into the lab, shouting commands. Marcus knew their fear would trigger the artifact if they touched it. The holographic cubes began spinning faster, lights flickering wildly, tiny projections of alien mechanisms spinning out of control. Marcus, we have to stop them. Dr. Finn yelled, panic in her voice. Marcus didn't answer. He didn't need to. Every muscle in his body focused on the sequence the artifact had taught him. Hands moving in precise patterns, he mimicked the glyph's flow. The shadow forms reacted instantly, creating a barrier of light and motion between him and the intruders. The soldiers fired. Lasers sparked against the shifting glyphs, bouncing harmlessly back. The artifact shielded him, but it was volatile. One mistake, one panic, and the entire lab could collapse. Adrenaline surged. Marcus stepped forward, drawing a deep, steadying breath. I'm not leaving it behind, he whispered. No one harms it. He extended both hands, tracing glyphs faster than before, sequencing multiple instructions at once. The humanoid figure mirrored him, moving with him, expanding its protective influence. Holographic cubes floated higher, forming spinning rings of light that blocked the lab doors. A soldier reached for a console, trying to disable the lights. The artifact pulsed violently. The ceiling lights exploded, sending shards of metal clattering. The soldiers froze. Marcus saw the fear in their eyes, the panic, the very emotion the artifact fed on. But he didn't hesitate. He focused. Every motion precise, every thought calm. The shadow forms twisted around the intruders, but gently, no harm, just containment. Then came the moment of truth. The humanoid figure extended a glowing arm toward him. Marcus understood instantly, this was the final step. He had to act boldly or everything would be lost. He reached out, hand meeting light, and merged his motion with the artifact. Glyphs pulsed along his skin, mapping patterns directly into his mind. Every pulse was a challenge. Every heartbeat a decision. The artifact had given him trust, and he couldn't break it. The lab trembled. Alarms screamed. Shadows and light collided in a symphony of chaos and energy. Marcus felt a jolt that shook him to his core, but he stood firm. The spinning cubes aligned into a lattice, a structure so precise it felt alive. The soldiers backed away instinctively, their weapons useless against the energy forming around Marcus. "Step back," he shouted, voice trembling with effort. "You can't touch this." His words were more than command, they were intention. The artifact felt it. The shadow forms tightened, forming an unbreakable barrier. Then a sudden pattern interrupted the rhythm. The glyphs twisted violently, a new shape forming. A dark spiral rising from the center of the humanoid figure, reaching toward the ceiling. Marcus's stomach dropped. This was unexpected. The artifact wasn't finished. It was testing him one final time. Marcus froze for a fraction of a second, then acted. He traced the glyphs instinctively, his fingers dancing in sequences faster than he could think. Each movement stabilized the spiral. The lattice of holographic cubes aligned perfectly, absorbing the excess energy. The humanoid figure glowed brighter than ever, casting light across the lab like dawn. And then silence. The shadow forms dissolved into gentle, floating glyphs. The spiral receded, leaving the humanoid figure standing upright, pulsing softly. The lab was intact. The soldiers stared, mouths open. Dr. Finn sank to her knees, trembling. Marcus's chest heaved with exhaustion, and a profound sense of triumph. Humanity had stood firm. Humanity had acted with courage, intelligence, and empathy, and prevailed where machines, fear, and force had failed. The artifact, alive and aware, floated silently before him. Glyphs shimmered across its surface like a heartbeat. Marcus knew, deep in his bones, that this was only the beginning. The alien knowledge was vast, far beyond human understanding, but he had proven that humans could rise to meet it, even against impossible odds. Then a faint pulse came from the center of the humanoid figure. The star map above the lab shifted violently, revealing a new spiral-shaped set of coordinates far beyond known space. Marcus's eyes widened. He could see it clearly now. The artifact wasn't just a puzzle. It was a guide. A test. And it had chosen him. Dr. Finn whispered, awed, "Marcus, what does it mean?" Marcus didn't answer. He could feel it in the glyphs, in the pulse of the artifact. Humanity's journey wasn't over. The real adventure was just beginning. And he was the one who had to take the next step. A shadow flickered at the edge of the lab, subtle but unmistakable, a hint of something even greater waiting outside the walls of the facility. The artifact pulsed in response, almost as if it were saying, "There is more to discover. Much more." Marcus's hand trembled slightly, but he smiled. Fear had not defeated him. Logic and courage had prevailed. And for the first time he felt the full weight of what humans were capable of. The artifact had chosen him, and now the universe was calling. Marcus stood in the center of the lab, chest heaving, sweat dripping down his face. The artifact hovered silently above him, its glyphs pulsing gently now, like a heartbeat at rest. The chaos had ended, but the weight of everything he had done pressed down on him. Every second, every decision had mattered. Every instinct, every flicker of fear or courage had shaped the artifact's response. Humanity had faced something impossible, and survived. Dr. Finn approached cautiously, her eyes wide with awe. "Marcus, you actually did it? You controlled it." Her voice shook. No one else could even touch it. Marcus nodded slowly, still staring at the humanoid figure of light. "It wasn't just about control," he said softly. "It was about understanding. Patience. Empathy. It responds to our minds, yes, but also to our hearts. Fear makes it unstable. Courage lets it teach us. A small smile tugged at his lips. He had thought the artifact was a puzzle to solve, a mystery to decode. Now he realized it was far more than that. It was a test of humanity itself. Every step he had taken, every careful movement, had proven that humans could rise to meet challenges no one else could face. The lab was quiet now. The soldiers had withdrawn, awed and cautious, leaving the artifact untouched. The other scientists, still shaken, slowly began to recover, staring at the holographic cubes floating above the lab. Each one contained alien technology, designs for engines, energy storage, tools the human mind had never conceived. Marcus felt a flicker of triumph. This knowledge could change everything: energy, medicine, exploration, but it had been earned, not stolen. He bent down and picked up one of the smaller cubes. It hummed gently in his hand, pulsing with light in response to his touch. It wasn't dangerous anymore. It was a gift. A small payoff for courage, a reward for empathy. The artifact had trusted him and he had not failed. Dr. Finn's voice broke the silence. Marcus, do you realize what this means? Humanity, we could build things we never dreamed of. Travel beyond our solar system, understand alien life, if we approach it the right way. Marcus nodded. Yes, he said. But it has to be done carefully. We can't rush. The artifact, it chooses who can interact with it. Not everyone can. And it tests you. His gaze drifted upward toward the star map still floating above them. The map pulsed softly, showing the alien systems they had glimpsed in the artifact's visions. And at its center, a spiral staircase of light seemed to stretch outward, hinting at mysteries far beyond Earth. A shiver ran through him. The artifact had given humanity its first lessons, but it was far from finished. He could feel it in the glyphs, in the pulses of light, in the subtle movement of the humanoid figure. There were more tests, more knowledge, more dangers waiting. Humanity had passed the first challenge, but the next one loomed, bigger, more complex, and even more demanding. Marcus turned to Dr. Finn, determination settling in his chest. We've survived the first trial. But the real journey begins now. The artifact, it's not just technology. It's alive. And it's showing us where to go. Dr. Finn swallowed hard, nodding. Then we follow it. Carefully. Step by step. Marcus took a deep breath. He looked around the lab at the remaining scientists, at the glowing cubes, at the artifact hovering silently above him. For the first time he allowed himself to feel something beyond adrenaline, pride. Not just personal pride but the pride of humanity. They had faced the impossible. They had faced something alive, incomprehensible, terrifying, and humans had risen to meet it. The artifact pulsed again, softly this time, and one small holographic glyph detached from the main body. It floated toward Marcus and expanded into a miniature projection of a star system he had never seen before. A new mystery. A new test. He smiled grimly. He didn't know what dangers awaited there, what trials the artifact had prepared, or how far humanity would need to stretch to meet them. But he would meet them. A faint hum echoed through the lab, almost like a whisper. Marcus could feel it in his chest. The artifact was alive. It had chosen humanity, but it had chosen him specifically. It trusted him to lead the first steps into a universe full of secrets, challenges, and wonders. Dr. Finn asked quietly, Marcus, what now? Marcus looked up at the spiral staircase of light in the star map. He let his fingers brush the floating glyphs. Now, he said, voice steady, we learn. We explore. We prove that humanity can rise to any challenge, no matter how impossible it seems. The artifact pulsed in agreement. Its light shimmered across the lab walls, casting long, dancing shadows that felt alive. The first step had been taken. The first lesson learned. But beyond the lab, beyond Earth, the universe waited, vast, mysterious, and full of impossible language, impossible technology, and impossible challenges. Marcus straightened, heart steady. He felt courage and clarity in equal measure. Humans had shined. They had survived the impossible. And now the universe was calling them forward. Above them, the star map shifted again. A new cluster of glyphs appeared at the edge, forming a subtle spiral, faint but unmistakable, a hint that the artifact had more to teach, more secrets to reveal, and even greater challenges ahead. Marcus's jaw tightened. He smiled. Fear had not defeated him. Logic and courage had. Humanity had proven itself worthy. And the adventure, the real adventure, was only just beginning. Marcus reached out, touching the glowing spiral with steady hands. The artifact pulsed once more and he felt it deep in his chest. The pulse of the impossible, the pulse of knowledge, and the pulse of hope. Humanity had passed the first test. The universe was waiting. The artifact reveals new, unexplored star systems, hinting at universe-spanning mysteries and challenges beyond Earth. Marcus, and humanity, are now on a path to even greater discoveries, leaving viewers curious for the next chapter.